want some more space down there. I'm sure about the corner.
Huh?
There's 2 buttons over there. The 2 buttons on the wall.
What about it?
That's the. Before we start this, just make it here.
Well, it's up to them to do it. We don't have to do that.
What'd you say? The 2 buttons?
Yeah, we don't have requirement for corporate meetings if the county wants to.
Fine, would you mind pushing those buttons over there for us?
Oh, for what? What?
They're cameras. Yeah, cameras. They're recorded, but my comments. For the mayor.
What are we recording for?
I have no idea. All right.
It's not for me. I don't make it record.
All right. We're gonna go ahead and call this Board of Directors meeting for August 21st, 2023 to order. At this time, we have consideration of minutes. Do I have a motion? We have a motion by Mr. Young. Is there a second? Second.
I'm gonna abstain on those.
Excuse me.
I'm gonna abstain on those. I wasn't here.
Okay. Is there any comments, any questions on the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries, you got 1 abstention. Okay, report by the chairman, I don't have anything right now. General manager?
Okay, we'll go through these tonnage reports right quick, hopefully. I think those got in there a little bit of reverse order, the monthly tonnage. You'll look at that third sheet, I believe it is, in there that gives the 2023 numbers. You can see we got 16,665 tons in for July. Last year we were a little over 14,000. So we're up 2,630 tons from last year, the same month. Still trending on the upward side. You can see the tons per day there on a 7-day-a-week average. We're right at 540 tons per day. If you drop that back to a 5 or 6 day average, we're, 6 to 650 probably at least. I was looking this afternoon before I came over here, and we were right around 700 tons into the transfer station today, about 4 o'clock or so, I think it was. So still getting a lot of tonnage in. The next report's that product sales summary. See the comparisons there from last year to this year. Break down on what went to the transfer station floor, what we got in tires, and also brush and wood waste, clean wood waste. A number of loads of tires out, and the loads of trash that went out, and the tonnage. The next reports are the major customer reports, breakdowns on the bigger haulers, comparing this year to last. Some of them are up. You see the city of Gallatin's up quite a bit, a couple hundred tons, a little less than 200 tons.
Miscellaneous still keeps.
Yeah, that's all the private haulers that are coming in. Again, we're getting a lot of roofing material. There's a lot of roofing going on in the area. Private haulers, roofers, dump trailers that have, they might have a smaller dump trailer, but they got quite a bit of weight on them. So that's one reason.
Larry,
why
has it ever been that high for miscellaneous?
No, probably not. No.
Who are the biggest ones in that?
We got a company that picks up in the rural parts of the county, clean away disposal, some of those, Gordy's trash disposal. But where a lot of that tonnage comes from is the the roofing loads.
Are some folks getting squeezed out of other areas and ended up coming to us?
They could possibly be. There's a lot of, moving and shaking, I guess, for lack of a better term, in the whole region right now in solid waste. People looking for places to dump, for various reasons, price or otherwise, convenience, all those sorts of things play into it. Even the bigger haulers do the same thing sometimes. They'll be bringing something for a long time and then all of a sudden it'll go away. And they're constantly shifting and moving trucks and routes around different places. The next report, there's the breakdown on the county tonnages. We're still getting some loads in from out of county. You can see there, the biggest one being from Davidson County. And probably the biggest part of that tonnage that shows up there is the roofing material. And it adds up, pretty fast when you get loads of shingles and that sort of thing.
So can I ask you a question by county? When you say that sometimes it's price that drives them to us, with these other counties, do you know what their prices are, their tipping price?
I know Robertson County's close to the same price we are, but a lot of it's driven by private companies like Waste Management and Republic that have the transfer stations and other sites. And you don't ever get a lot of those companies, they charge what they call a gate rate, but they have other charges, fees on top of that add to that. You don't ever get a good answer when you talk to them about what they charge. And, when you add all that up, it's probably more than we charge, but, and that's one reason why these people start looking around. I know at the C&D site that Waste Management runs, Southern Services site down off Riley Parkway, they never have had a scale down there. They always charge by the yard, measure the trailer or box, charged by the yard. But they're, as I think I've shared in here in the last several months, they're in the process of putting a C&D kind of a processing facility on that site where they can process C&D and do some other things with it. And they're putting in a scale. As a matter of fact, I talked to the Fairbanks guy that does our scale work last week. We were looking at that 50-foot scale that we're in the process of replacing. And he was telling me that they had just put a scale in there, so they're going to start weighing loads in
That'd be good for them.
now. So, but I never have understood why they never have done that to start with. It's kind of aggravating trying to. I guess you got a guesstimate on a box size or a trailer size. They've done it enough to where they probably can tell by looking at one what the cubic yards is. But
Thank you.
you're welcome. The next report's the recycling report. We got the sheets in there through the end of last fiscal year and also the start of this fiscal year. Recycling markets continue to fluctuate. The cardboard had gone up for a bit. Now it's kind of back down. I think we were getting something like $10 to $25 a ton loose for the last few loads we've sent to a processing facility down in Nashville. They charge us $10 a ton, I think, to process the plastic that we take down there. And if we've got any glass loads, they're at $40 a ton, plus the environmental fee and fuel surcharge that they charge for the loads that come into those places. The next sheet's the miscellaneous recycling report. got the one through the end of June. Biggest thing in that report that helps us out is on the scrap metal sales. You can see the revenue that's generated from scrap metal sales, and also the aluminum cans. And then the first month there for this fiscal year's in that second report.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Lately, in conversation with other people about solid waste, I was unaware of commodity markets. And so that's come up in conversation I've had with people lately. Can you explain to me how that works with us?
That's what I was talking about, the recycling markets,
Right.
commodities markets.
So does it come, do you get like, is it like day trading, like different prices per day, by month, by the month? And how does that happen?
No, on cardboard, for example, they use what they call a yellow sheet, the yellow sheet. Back when we were running the recycling facility and baling cardboard and newspaper, I used to subscribe to the yellow sheet and get it every month, and that way you can tell what the price per ton for baled cardboard was.
Mhm.
And then when you call brokers to try to set up pickups on loads, we dealt with 2 or 3 brokers at a time, and whoever gave us the best price is who we'd get to pick our loads up.
So that was like a monthly,
It's a monthly thing, especially on cardboard, and it's still that way. I don't subscribe to it anymore because we do loose cardboard, so it doesn't matter as much. If we were doing a whole lot more, it might be a different story where you could, but still, you only got a few places if you're taking, in this area, to take the loose cardboard. We've got 2 people that we deal with, Waste Management River Hills, that's got the recycling plant down there for recyclables. It's a co-mingle recycling processing facility. And on cardboard, we also go to Pratt Recycling down in Nashville as well. They deal strictly in just paper, just like the mixed paper and cardboard as well.
so we don't really shop the commodities market, we just have them.
I kind of look, see what they're paying, those 2
Yeah,
people,
and
and then I kind of,
It looks good.
Yeah.
Okay. It was new to me, we had never discussed
yeah,
how
that's
the numbers come in.
that's what it's talking about, commodities prices. It's all those prices like tin, aluminum, steel, cardboard, all those things, they go up and
They
down
vary.
all the time.
But we just have people that we sell it to now. We don't-
Yeah, there's only, the way we're currently collecting it, of course, we're not doing any processing or taking any, curbside pickup or anything like that on recyclables, so, there's only a couple, 3 places maybe that's close, where we can
Yeah.
haul it down there.
Yeah, I can understand that.
That's the thing. When we were baling it, we baled it, stored the bales till we got enough to make a load. We knew about how much a load of cardboard was, and then we'd call a broker and line up a pickup on the load.
Is that the same thing the city of Gallatin does? They have that convenience center out there. It's,
Mhm.
it's very busy.
Yeah, they get a lot of traffic over there.
Yeah, do they get more than you? Because there's people in and out there all the time.
Probably not. They're dealing with the same places we are,
Yeah, okay.
so it's probably about the same price.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The next sheet, there's the alternative energy, or shows the brush grinding, transfer station site. Also the city of Gallatin site off Steam Plant Road, and also Hendersonville brush site. Now the breakdown on the year through the end of last fiscal year. Finished in the plus side with a pretty good number on the brush grinding. You see the first month there for this fiscal year, how we started off. We're still continuing to get quite a bit of brush in, actually.
Still a lot of
Mostly from us.
And, I know we're keeping, that contractor busy going between our 3 sites. And, also I think he grinds down at, either Brentwood or City of Franklin or somewhere down there, maybe Brentwood, I think, so. That's all I've got on tonnage reports. The next thing in there is the, breakdown on the financial statement for the first month of the fiscal year. Finished July, pretty good, it looks like, so. We sent those out ahead of time. If anybody's got any questions about anything on there. See, the tip fee revenue started off with a pretty high number, but also if you look down at the waste disposal number, had to be a big number as well, or a bigger number.
With the waste disposal number, is there a way to break that out between transportation and tipping fees at the Smithfield landfill?
We could, I guess, yeah.
I was just wondering how much we spend in transport, and how much is landfill? I was just wondering.
Of course, the landfill's the biggest portion of it, obviously, but I could break that out, yeah. We get a report from Smith County with the invoice for the month. And then I get one from MBI on the transportation and or the loading and transportation. So what I do is figure that with the fuel factor in there and just add those 2 numbers together is how I come to it. But yeah, we can do that. I could report that as something different every month instead of breaking it out on here, if that's okay.
However you want. I was just curious of, since landfill,
That's not hard to do.
as landfill, as the capacity fills up, that number's gonna keep going up. I was just wondering, with transportation, I was just curious to see
Yeah.
it.
So is the $5,000 in fuel essentially a part of that waste and transportation? Is that?
That's fuel for our equipment there on the site.
On site.
Yes, ma'am. For our loaders and also our roll-off truck that we haul recyclables with.
Okay.
Is that it, Larry?
Yeah.
Anybody have anything else for Larry?
I have a question. Did you get a new employee?
Did.
Excellent.
So we'll see how it works out.
All right, before we go to legal report, if nobody has any objection, I think we've got a citizen that wants to have a couple comments. Does anybody have any objection to that? All right. If you want to come up, give your name, address for the record, please. It doesn't matter.
Good evening, my name is Kay Brooks. I live at 123 Trousdale Drive in Hendersonville, the exceptional city of Hendersonville, so I'm told. Since the agenda for this meeting wasn't posted online, and I just got a copy 10 minutes ago from the director, it's impossible to be prepared to speak on agenda items. This is a disservice to citizens and has to change. You need to post those agenda items well in advance. Regardless, I'll speak on 2 items. One, do not move this meeting to a different location. This location is most convenient for commissioners and for citizens who will attend the meeting shortly after this. It makes no sense to move it. 2, I don't see, and I haven't heard the process for hiring a new director that will include citizen comments. If rumor control is accurate, I vehemently oppose Scott Foster's application. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with this governing body. My name is Donna DeSobo, and I live at 101 Chambliss Court, also in the great city of Hendersonville. I'm going to echo the sentiments of the previous speaker, Kay. I also want to speak with regard to the hiring of the general manager. Of course, everything that we do here is funded by, not government, but by the people. And we, the people, should have the opportunity to speak on some matters that impact our taxation because it's coming from our wallet. I'm going to speak about the general manager position. I'm also here to echo the sentiments to vehemently oppose Scott Foster as a candidate, even out of the gate. I do have in my possession ethics complaints. I was one of the citizens who actually pulled public records, who was able to identify questionable activity with the mayor, the usurpation of a board, and you are also a board. You will find that that is a behavior that has been a pattern, unilaterally trying to change FOIA to keep the citizens from getting and obtaining the freedom of information and increasing fees exorbitantly so citizens could not. Also usurpation of the board for the travel policy, multiple ethics complaint. I also have in my hands information with regard to that. I'll be more than happy to do so. I was also part of the stoppage of changing FOIA, and we won in conjunction with working with the attorney, Kirk Clements, on multiple. So I just wanted to echo those sentiments and thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
You wanna?
Good evening. Thank you for letting me be here. My name is Chris Colby. I'm in 155 Hedgelon Drive in Hendersonville. I spoke with Mary Janung. I applied for the position of general manager, and she said it'd be a good idea to come in and just present myself and get to see the board and let them see me. My background is with Bridgestone Tire Operations in Nashville. I worked for 14 years. I was DOT compliance manager for that entire time. I also did other projects and assignments. Part of what I did was handle scrap tires permitting across the country, as well as hazardous materials. So, like I said, DOT compliance. So everything that was part of that role, I feel qualifies me for that same position. But I did have another position as a director of operations until recently. All in the logistics industry. So trucking, logistics, and all of that freight movement, I'm accustomed to. So just wanted to take an opportunity and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Laura Baker, 424 A.B. Wade Road in Portland. There's lots of things I could comment on, but the one about the changing the location of the meeting, I've been to the Resource Authority, seen the room. If there's not a different room that we can meet in over there, if you have this kind of attendance, you cannot have an open meeting. There's no way it can be transparent because we can't all fit in the room, and there's no accommodations with monitors or anything else for us to see and to be a part of the governing body of the Resource Authority. Also, I put in an open records request for the recording from the last meeting on July 24th, and I've received no response to that request.
That's because you didn't fill out the paperwork correctly.
Well, I could have received an answer back.
Well, you did receive an answer back,
Oh,
and I
okay.
told you when you filled out the paperwork correctly, then we would.
Sir, I got no response.
Well, then.
My name is Laura Baker. You did not respond to me.
Well,
You want me to show-
I never saw, I saw one request that came through the law director's office, responded. It wasn't filled out correctly. As soon as it's filled out correctly, we'd be happy to provide you with that.
Well, this is the first response I got.
Well, then you need to respond. Who did you send it to?
You.
Well, you're incorrect, and I've got the records to show it.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we pay your salary, right?
No, you don't.
Sorry, but you don't. No. Okay, does anybody else want to speak?
But we paid you. You didn't pay like we did.
No, it's not like that. No. Anybody else want to speak? If not, we're gonna move on to the legal report. Mr. Moore?
The city of Gallatin, I'm not stealing Ryan's thunder, but they've approved a site plan. I checked with the city once that approval in regards to the trading off of the roads, quitclaim deeds, and the easements. And so that should be coming very shortly. Any hiccups? No. The engineering was waiting for the site plan approval before they moved to the actual rerouting of the roads, and the documents that have to go with that. The other thing is the personnel policy is in dire need of restructure. It was put in place in 1998. Things were a lot different then, and so next meeting I'll have a proposed new personnel policy for the board to consider.
Can we get a copy of the
Sure.
existing one? Can you email that to us?
Yes. And that's all I have.
Anything else? Butch?
No further.
All right. Old business, update and discuss the progress of the final design and permitting for the new transfer station.
Yeah, as Butch mentioned, we got the site plan approval. City of Gallatin was one of the final hurdles. All the permits that we need are in place. We've got a construction general permit, we've got our transfer station permit for the modification, and we are in the final discussions with Gallatin Electric just about bringing their primary service back to the transfer station. So we're really close to bidding. I'd say before the next meeting, this will be out to bid. And beyond that, I might recommend, since the bids will probably come in after the time of the next meeting date, maybe a special call meeting where we can look to award the bid to the lowest successful or lowest bidder that's qualified.
Do we have to go with those better?
You do.
Yeah.
So we don't in Hendersonville necessarily.
Well, it's the lowest qualified bidder, so there's certain things that also qualify that bid during the
Lowest
process.
and best. Okay.
Where do you advertise for the bids? I may have missed that.
So the advertise will be public. It'll be in either a locally published paper.
So it goes in the Gallatin paper and the Hendersonville paper?
Yeah, Gary, or Larry, is that typically where you
Do we go
advertise?
for a bigger publication? Or-
You can go for a larger publication like the Tennessean, which
So I'm
is the
just asking,
parent.
where are we going?
Well, what we'll also do, where you really get your bidders from is the plan rooms like Construct Connect, Dodge Room, BXTN. We advertise them on our website. We reach out to qualified contractors that we're aware of that have either performed successfully for the Resource Authority or on our projects in the past. And so once it's out to bid, we'll invite folks with that advertisement as well.
So when it gets time to do that and put out the bid, can you let the board members know where we're advertising or who we're
Of course.
handing it out? That would be helpful.
Be glad to.
Ryan, with these ever-increasing capacities that Larry's dealing with now, and with this potential redesign and monies that's going to be put into a new transfer station, is there a way that, because I know there's 2 new board members here, is there a way that we could, and I'd be willing to work with you to put together kind of a synopsis of what this thing looks like, where we could try to get this out into the community where they can understand? I mean, I think everybody, the folks that are behind us, they understand the challenges that Larry is dealing with every day now. But if we could kind of show them, this is what is this is where the direction we're moving to, what we're trying to do. I think that would answer a lot of questions within the community and just show people that we're trying to make this progress.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I mean, what we're effectively doing is more than doubling the Resource Authority's capacity with a new transfer station,
Right.
separating residential and commercial users. It's going to be very impactful. Now, we're still at the end of a Rappahannock Wire Drive, which is in itself always going to be a challenge from a traffic standpoint. And there's other users that are there now and other users that could be there tomorrow. So those are things that are beyond our control.
Right, sure.
But
But I'd be
absolutely.
willing to work with you on that, to make that, whatever I put together, share that with the board for their input or discussion or whatever, if that's okay.
So are you thinking, Rick, about like an open meeting for citizens to ask questions and you present, I'm just,
Yeah, I don't know, I think for just, maybe for Missy and I, just to kind of get our arms around what it's gonna look like, and for the board to have a better understanding of that. Because I don't know how far down the road they are with what they put together now.
Well, we're down the road. I mean,
Well, I know that
we're
you are.
going to
Yeah.
bid.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
it's almost a done deal now.
And it needs to be. We're probably a year to 2 years behind, just from the standpoint of how much volume pushes through the existing station. I mean, these facilities typically have something around a 20-year life. Larry's done a great job pushing the waste out of it that he's got flowing through it now. I mean, really amazing considering he's some days doubling the capacity of what should be going through that station.
So I think Terry just kind of put together something just to show to the people, this is the direction we're going in.
and I think I'm reading their minds. They're asked, I can hear them say, well, where would we see it at?
Yeah,
That's the thing. Well, I don't know.
I agree. Yeah, I don't know. That's something I think we need to try to work on. And I'm
What is
happy to-
the current capacity of our existing plant, and what will be our design capacity of our new plant?
So the existing transfer facility is not, it was developed under a different purpose, and it was retrofitted to be a transfer
Right.
station, right? We estimate 350 to 400 tons per day is
That's what I was thinking of.
what you would give it a design rating for. Now, it's pushing out 600, 700 tons per day, so physically,
It can do it.
it can do more, right? And the new station's gonna be the same in that capacity, but the new station's rated in a little bit of, in a 650 ton per day capacity. But it will probably push out close to 1,000 tons per day by the time it's said and done.
Any more questions for Ryan?
I got one more thing on the transfer station, if I may. We spoke about the Gallatin Electric coordination. The process there is our contractor will install the conduit, we'll install the transformer pad, we'll put the things in the ground that Gallatin Electric needs to pull the wire and set the transformer. Transformers right now have somewhere around a 52-week lead time, so we're talking about close to a year before we get a transformer. As Gallatin provides us with their design to provide primary power to the facility, they're going to give us a cost to go ahead and order the transformer, and I think they look for 75% of the transformer dollars up front. I would ask the board, because we have such a long lead times, once we have our final numbers from Gallatin Electric, to go ahead and make that order with them for the transformer and bring power to the facility. It'll help speed up the construction process.
Well, that brings up another thing, well, I'll wait, because that's on here.
All right. Update on the floor repair project.
Do we need to make a motion?
Sounds like two, actually.
Huh?
Sounds like two motions, one for a special meeting, the other one for,
Okay, we're gonna do a special meeting. Do we think we need to?
I
don't think we know when
Yeah,
yet.
Yeah, I think we'll have to wait till we
Okay.
have bids in hand and we have, at least a chance to be able to award a bid to a contractor.
How long is the bid period?
2 weeks is state minimum. I'd recommend 4 weeks for a project this size.
So what are we going for? Should we vote on what our bid period is?
You can if you like. I would
All right.
recommend 4 weeks, and that's what I have in the contract documents today.
That's in the contract?
That's from the point of advertisement to the
Okay.
time we receive bids,
All right.
if that suits everyone.
I make a motion that we do that, 4 weeks.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. All right.
And what was the other item?
Probably the most pressing one, I don't have a number here tonight. It's probably coming this week, today or tomorrow or Wednesday. Gallatin Electric is working towards having us a number to make an order on the transformer, essentially. So we can get that lead time started. And that number is going to be what Gallatin Electric tells us it is. There's really not negotiation on that.
Not negotiable.
Do we have a separate set of accounting for the capital project, for the new project? Because I know I've been looking at the engineering costs coming in. Now we have the transformer. I'm just wondering, are we gonna run a separate, or does that run over with the bond, with the bond being on the county side? Is the capital projects, all those are gonna be over there?
No. Anything associated with the new transfer station will be over there.
Over there. So the we'll approve the transformer cost, but it'll be on the books over there.
When we submit the bill for it, yes.
Okay. That's what I thought I was saying.
What we've been doing up to now is paying those bills and then submitting them to David, and then they reimburse us
So,
out of the bond.
I don't know if the other board members are looking at the engineering fees. I am. I don't know if y'all are keeping track, and I don't know if we should have it here, keeping track, or if we're expecting someone at the county to be watching the capital projects and making sure we're in budget and stuff. So what do y'all anticipate that to look like? I mean, it's a $13 million project. We need to either have the responsibility here or somebody there. I'm just asking.
So would the finance director for the county be able to consider, is the bond go with the new, is going for the new transformer station? I need you to explain that to me.
So the transformer is the electrical feed that's going to.
No, I mean the big project, sorry. The building of the big project.
Yes, the bond funds the large project.
So what she's saying, the capital expenses, would the finance director at the county be most appropriate to track that since he's holding the bond? Or I'm just asking.
He will pay it, but it either needs to go to a committee with the commissioners, like general ops, or it needs to come back to this board, and this is probably where it needs to be.
Okay.
And that's what I'm asking. David's doing the accounting, but is anyone providing oversight? And I'm asking, is this board going to provide oversight for the capital project, even though the county is facilitating the paying of the bills?
Which I assume the county can do that if they want, but
Yes.
we're responsible for that.
Right. And I think it belongs here. I'm just bringing it up.
Yeah.
That,
Okay.
and we already have incurred, we're getting close to 400,000 in engineering expense.
Several thousand, yes.
And I've been asking if, nobody's providing oversight. And that's why I was just bringing it up.
Well, it's professional fees for one thing.
We
Which
still
is
need to provide oversight.
I understand that, but in the private act, the board has the authority to hire and pay their professionals, including engineers, attorneys, and whatever professional services they need. And the county does not provide oversight for that. The county, this
That's not what I'm
entity,
asking.
well, let me
I'm just
finish.
saying we should look at that.
Wait, let me finish. This entity is no more it's a subdivision of the county, but it is also a subdivision of the city of Gallatin and the city of Hendersonville. So everybody, that's how it was created. And so the notion that the county commission provides oversight because they issued the bonds, but we're responsible for the debt service. That's what those millions of dollars are for. It is the board's, the input that the municipalities have on the decisions and the operation of this board is by appointing its members.
I think
Period.
we're in agreement.
Okay.
I'm just saying that we need to be looking at the capital expenditures, and we don't see them because they're paid here, and we don't get them on our financials. I'm just saying.
Engineering fees are in your
It shows-
budget.
It shows up on this,
Okay,
on the balance sheet.
that was what I was asking.
Yeah, it shows up on there. So we do, that's the account that we run it through when we send the bills to David.
To David?
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent.
So it does show up on there, and that's
Are we
a
gonna
little
keep
over
those separate as we go?
$390,000.
Are we gonna, I was just asking if we're gonna have a separate for capital expenditures and
Pertaining to
operational.
that, yeah, we will,
Okay,
yeah.
that was all my
We're
question was.
already doing that, and that's the reason it shows up
Can we, okay, so it'll split out, we'll see capital
Yeah, that
expenditure
doesn't-
separate
it
from
doesn't-
operational.
It doesn't show up here, but it'll show up here.
Okay, I'll look for it.
Okay.
All right, any more questions? Any other motions?
Do we need a motion for the Galton the transformer?
I think if you'd like Larry to be able to order it, yes.
Yeah, probably do.
I make a motion that we appropriate to Galton whatever they need to get the transformer started.
Second. Second.
You have an estimate of what that's looking like?
Whatever it is, it is.
I don't have an estimate this time, but I can email the board and Larry what that looks like.
I'll do that.
Next day or two.
Are we talking $100,000? We talking 10? I don't like making motions to spend money with a blank check.
You gotta have a transformer.
I get that, but if they come back and say it's $500,000, shouldn't we have a meeting and discuss it instead?
We'll pay it.
That's
Gallatin,
the only way you'll get it.
yeah, Gallatin Electric is going to charge us for the transformer, and they're gonna charge you a per foot fee to run power back to the facility. And we're back behind our facility, so it's gonna be a decently long run of primary power. But that's,
The cost is the cost.
there's really not much. Look, Jamie, I can get you an estimate, but it would be tomorrow, or the next day before it's here.
So are we talking 10,000 or are you talking 500,000?
I don't have a number.
So we could be spending $500,000 on this without us vote specifics on this board.
Realistically, it's probably not gonna be
I
$500,000.
don't-
That's what I'm hoping too.
I don't expect it to be at that price point, but I don't know the number.
Okay. Appreciate it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. All right, next item, full repair project. Anybody have anything on that?
We're in the process of making that happen end of the week, next week, over the Labor Day weekend. We've got the contractor lined up. We've been notifying people on our website and also handing out flyers to everybody that comes in that we're going to be down that Friday, Saturday. Of course, we will be closed Sunday and Monday as well. Sunday we're not open, and Monday's the holiday, so everything is looking okay at this point to make that happen next weekend.
Okay.
Not this coming weekend, but next weekend. Yeah.
How might the weather impact that, Larry?
It won't.
Because it's undercover.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you should, with everything starts on schedule, should be ready to open for business on Tuesday morning then. So really, we're only gonna be down 2 days, Friday and Saturday.
Technically, 2 work days, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Larry. Update on any landfill projects?
We're current with all our water testing, and
Man, that's good.
Things are
That's
looking good.
news. Good news there. Update and discussing progress on replacement for retiring general manager.
Can I hear from our HR person?
Hmm?
You want to hear from our administrative services director?
If he wants to talk to us about it, yeah, that'd be good.
Okay.
Probably let us know what's going on.
Okay, so this is Jason Gallo. He's the Director of Administrative Services for the City of Hendersonville. He's our top HR person. A couple months ago, this board voted to have him put together the advertisement and the information that would go out about this position. We haven't. Only way we've narrowed down the applicants so far is the qualified and unqualified. It's up to us if we want to stick with that grouping or change that grouping or do however many piles we want to put in there. Just like it's up to us on who we decide to hire at the end of the day. But Jason can tell you sort of how we went about that. He's got some information to share with you.
Sure. Sorry, I'm going to stand just so everyone can see me. So at this point, we've gotten 33 applications. Out of that, there's about 17 who meet the minimum qualifications. The buckets that I put them in just matched what the job description was, which was a bachelor's degree or experience in lieu of, and 2 years of management of solid waste. Those are the requirements. They're pretty broad, and that's okay. That gives you a lot of flexibility with it. The unqualified is really for you all to go through if you feel like, you know, I gauged it wrong, I'm not offended by that, I'm really just here to help. And so when you look at those, you'll also see people who have been in food service and just are throwing their hat in the ring because that's what candidates do. And so just understand that as you're going through that, I didn't intentionally weed anybody out. You know, I'm looking for specific keywords within a resume or a cover letter. So I didn't see that. I also admit I'm human, and so sometimes I overlook that. So if you do see them, all I recommend is that you just put a note there of why you move them from one pool to the next, from qualified to unqualified or unqualified to qualified, right? Just by the flip. Beyond that, you know, it's really how the board wants to approach it. If you want to do a smaller committee to funnel that down, you know, 15 people, 17 people to interview is a lot. And so I don't know if that's the best use of time for everybody. You might have a smaller subcommittee who filters that down and does an initial phone screen to gauge candidates and their interest. But people were from really all over the US. So you'll see people local as well as each coast. So it really is up to you on how you want to begin to narrow that pool down, and then what you expect of your candidates. Are you willing to offer over the phone, or you want them here for an on-site interview, those kind of things. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm really just here to be a resource for you all. So if you need help developing questions, you need help guiding through that process, I'm here to answer any of those questions. I've spent a lot of my career in HR and doing recruiting, so I was really happy with the turnout that we got on this based on the fact that where we posted it with the solid waste organization and on Indeed. Didn't have high hopes, and it yielded better than I expected, so it was good.
I have a question.
Sure.
We got the bucket of resumes from everybody.
Yeah.
And I went through and looked at all of them, qualified, unqualified.
Great.
And then looked at key elements, and then actually called some of them.
Okay.
Because I wasn't aware I was supposed to. So I did my homework early. So some of the things that I found were that, like, certifications, some people had certifications but didn't realize they needed to put it on there because it was, some of them were very, very good. And, you know, those are the kind of things. And then some people didn't maybe have 2 years of solid waste, but they had all these other industrial waste programs that they did, and they had a lot of management. So I was trying to figure out, my question was, because I haven't seen job description that this job has. I just saw what you posted, and I didn't know what Larry's, I hadn't seen Larry's, and I hadn't seen the updated one. So I had some questions.
I hope you saw those. They were in the folder, and they were also linked on the job postings.
Okay, yeah, I did. I saw that.
Okay.
But I had some questions about the position itself, because I felt like we were like squeezing into a little box. And so thinking analytically about it, well, what is the position? What's the scope of the job? So I know what Larry has told us he does. I know what he does out there. He does a phenomenal job. But my question was planning, processing, things like that. To me, that's extremely important for the flow of what they do out there. They've got a project coming up. There's a lot of things that are going on. There's so many moving parts out there. And my question was, why waste management only in lieu of, or 2 years, you know? What about logistical work, management work, those kind of things? So I was trying to get an idea of why it was narrowed. And then their knowledge base. Was it more process, logistics, or industrial, institutional resources? Kind of finding out where their knowledge bases were and trying to put that into, I read a lot of resumes, and some of them were quite fun reading. But the other thing I had was, the question I had is, in your opinion, because you do HR, would it be best to just pull out of 5 top candidates and narrow it from there? You know, I'm trying to figure out how we're going to do this with all of us agreeing on everything, because some people have one idea and you have another idea, etc. And then talking with some of the things about grant management. Do some of these candidates have experience in grant management? So there's a lot of moving parts, and, but I did call several of them.
Can I step in real quick? These really aren't questions for Jason. Jason's done what we've asked him to do. They're questions for us. So
I
his
think
work is really
I'm
done.
just
When it
trying
goes
to
to the qualifications,
feel-
that's really for the board to decide.
I got you.
As far as your question about what are considered best practices, like how do you narrow down that funnel? Honestly, that's where a subcommittee making phone calls and having conversations with folks over the phone might be a good idea.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're picking, so let's say 17 names on a dartboard and seeing which ones stick. Just like you mentioned, there's things that people leave off of resumes.
Sure.
And sometimes a phone call will answer those.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, a phone call will answer the other side of it, which is maybe that's not who you want. You know,
Right.
Larry's shoes are big shoes to fill from what I understand. So,
Absolutely. Okay, thank you.
yep.
But I think all those are good questions. It's just that really Jason has done what we've asked him to do, and really for us.
But I do think they're good questions. Can we address them? I mean, I understand that they're not for Jason, so do we address those questions?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I read the bylaws, and the bylaws says that we are supposed to have a committee for financial and personnel. There's supposed to be two committees according to the bylaws, and we brought that up before, but it didn't go anywhere. So I didn't know, are we planning on, like she said, you know, we need to address this because this is a big deal? Or are we gonna have these committees put together? So I got, you know, there's a couple of things I need to. That's not really your deal.
There's a good question about that. What about those committees? That we used to have, right?
Yeah, I know in times past, you know, we usually elect officers in September meeting. And a lot of times whenever those officers are elected, whoever the chairman was would appoint the committees at that time.
We
That's-
skipped the last September elections.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We skipped last September's elections.
Yeah, we did, well, we didn't even meet in September. I think
No,
that was one of the
Butch said we
meetings.
couldn't do it. He advised us not to.
Yeah.
Well,
Is that
that
what
was
it was?
during the time of the situation with Gallatin. That
Yeah,
wasn't in
Craig was
September.
gone from October till
Yeah.
June,
I know
and
there
we
was
couldn't have
one meeting,
elections.
we didn't have a quorum. I couldn't remember whether that was it or not.
Well, September.
Anyway, yeah.
So
But do we not still have the committees from last time? I mean,
I don't know that they were appointed, actually.
There were, and part of the I mean, I don't know for sure, but part of the reason is when these bylaws were enacted, we were wasting energy. Of course, I've been recommending for years, a situation where first of all, that this solid waste disposal commission be the resource authority, but there's a solid waste disposal commission because we're a different type of entity now than we were when the private act, and the amendment to the private act and the bylaws were created, because it wastes energy. That's why I was talking about the personnel policy. We haven't had to hire a general manager since 2002. Is that right, Mr. Young?
I think that's right.
When you became general manager was 2002.
20 years ago.
Yes, so, and the rest of the personnel was Larry's, he hired and fired if necessary. I don't think he ever had to fire too many people. That's another need, that a lot of paperwork or reorganization needs to take place with not only our personnel policy, but our bylaws and potentially a private act, because we do not operate a waste-to-energy plant anymore. And so, yes, now it probably would be a good idea to have a personnel committee instead of having and then report to the board as a whole. And the finance committee was basically the secretary treasurer, because again, back in 1998, when a lot of this stuff was occurring, and we were waste to energy, we were bleeding money on an annual basis. Now that's not the case. So, because we're not doing waste to energy. So for those who weren't here, we were going to have to retrofit the waste to energy portion of the plant, which also involved more personnel. And the bond issue for that was going to be in, what was it? $60 million.
$60 million.
So we opted to shut down the waste to energy plant, which is probably a good thing. Because also that happened during that period of time was that Donnelly closed, which was our principal customer for steam. So there was no place to take the energy to have to resell it in that market. Bottom line, a lot of stuff needs to be reorganized. Personnel committee is still on the books, and that can act, as far as hiring of a general manager. But we hadn't had to do that for 20 years.
I'd like to make a motion.
Appointed now, actually.
So do you think what I'm saying is, I guess that should we go ahead and set up a personnel committee to?
So I have a motion, I have an idea, a motion. There's 7 of us. What if we just go away and we pick our top 5 or 6 candidates and we see how many we come up with that's the same? There's only 7 of us. Surely we all have time to read these. Mary says she's already read them all.
Well, we have a personnel committee, whatever y'all want to do, that's fine.
Well,
I mean, I have time to read.
I think he's
Seems
right.
important.
He's right, though. We do need a personnel committee, because you need to have a consolidated format on, what you're looking for. And that's why I asked those questions, because we're kind of we're all over the place here. And so I think he's right, do we have a personnel committee? I think that's absolutely, if you're gonna pick a general manager for Larry's position, you should have 3 people or 4 people or 5 people, whoever, whatever. But to sit down, look through the stuff, go through the resumes, and ask the questions, what are you looking for? And so there are a lot of variables in that question. So that's just my feelings about it.
How do we go about picking a personnel committee? Who does that?
There shall be 2 standing committees of the authority known as the Finance and Personnel Policy. Such standing committees shall be appointed at the annual meeting by the chairman, subject to the approval by the board. Such other committees may be appointed by the chairman of the authority from time to time as may be necessary. The membership of standing and ad hoc committees shall be appointed by the chairman of the authority. No member shall chair more than 1 standing committee. The secretary treasurer shall be a member of the finance committee. At each time, each committee shall select its own officers.
So there's this. Does it say how many should be on each committee?
No, it does not.
Okay. So chairman being myself, right?
Yes, with approval by the majority of the board.
Okay. So do we need to appoint a personnel committee?
I'm certainly willing to serve on the personnel committee. Anybody else that's interested in doing it?
I'll be glad to.
I've got plenty of time, I'll be
You want
glad.
me to do 4 or 3?
Yep, that's fine.
4, how about it? Rick, Terry, Mary, and Jamie?
I think each one of the entities need to be represented.
Okay.
I was gonna say Jim.
Well, I said you.
I know, and I wanna say Jim.
All right, well, Jim, Rick, Terry, and Mary. How about that?
Okay.
That good?
Needs
I'll make-
approval.
All right, there's.
Needs
all right,
appro- needs
that's
approval.
right. So do I hear a motion?
Motion
I'll second that.
Okay, you got a motion for those 4, second, any discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And I'm assuming that you 4 are gonna look at those resumes, right? Come up with, what, say 5 or how many ever y'all want to? And bring those back
Well,
to
we need
us.
to talk about that, I guess, how many we want to present.
Yeah.
The more you present,
Yeah.
the
It
bigger
gets-
problem you're gonna
It gets harder.
if we can limit, if we can bring it to 3, I think it'd be great.
Okay.
That's one man's opinion.
Can I ask a question,
Yes.
since I've got a vested interest in it? What kind of time frame are we talking about?
Quick,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
quick.
I'd be free Wednesday morning.
This Wednesday?
Yes.
I'm free in the morning.
I'm free in the morning, yes.
Well, I think we do need to give some notice, you know.
And
because
then,
it's
is
a-
that a public meeting? Because it's a
Um,
work meeting, I think it is.
But it's personnel, so let me check that, because that's a gray area there.
There was one of the candidates said that they were kind of wanting to keep it quiet because they have a very big job.
I was just at drug accounting class, and they said nothing's off the books, except lawyer-client privilege. They said, even in the drug accounting, it's open record.
Well, again,
We
you,
can't-
you and I may disagree on the legal ramifications about the Open Meetings Act. And
Yes.
we've expressed that, okay? And so, but
So-
I'm unsure about this, so I don't give an opinion unless I'm reasonably certain. And I'll be happy to do that.
So I would like to give a little direction. Jim said 3. At most, it needs to be 4. That's what I'm asking the committee to do.
Yeah.
If it's more than that, it becomes cumbersome for us to have a debate about that.
Yeah, 3 or 4 is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, no more than that. I don't think.
What time frame though? So if we're gonna meet like Wednesday and then go
Well,
over,
that doesn't give me time to,
okay.
I want to make sure that we're good.
All right.
How much time, because honestly, I'm gonna be out of town next week, but I can be by phone or.
Well,
may not
I
be in
mean,
person.
I will try to get to it and have an answer for that by no later than tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
All right, that sounds good.
Because there may not be deliberation in that. There's not.
Yeah, right.
They're
Yeah, all
just-
we're doing is just selecting. We're not
You're
voting on
selecting
anybody.
candidates.
You're not
Bring back to
selecting,
us,
you're,
to the
you're,
board.
then you,
We're just saying, these,
Discussing those 4.
in our meeting, we picked these 4 people or
To
3
bring back
people,
to the
what it
board,
is,
right.
and we're gonna turn that back into the board, and the board in turn would be the ones that voted.
And hopefully we'll get consensus within the 4 of us in
Yeah.
terms of our top 3 or 4,
Right.
whatever it is.
Okay.
So while that committee's doing that, I'm not going to talk to any of these folks. I'm not going to communicate with any of the applicants. Because likely, they're going to know that we're
Right.
going through this process. And I think only people to communicate with those, and we probably can't pass a motion, this is a First Amendment issue, but I think the only people to communicate with those folks need to be the people on the Personnel Committee.
That's good, because I've already talked to them.
You're on the
All right.
committee.
All right, is that it then on that? Butch, you gonna let us know?
Yes.
Okay, all right. That'll work. All right, next thing, update on the investing of current surplus funds in our cash flow account. What's status on that?
Well, we talked about that last week, and there was, I think, there was one abstention and one that voted no to look at the Pinnacle Insured Cash Sweep account. And there was a comment that was made that the safety of these dollars are paramount. And I think by going with this Insured Cash Sweep account, they split that out, and it's all FDIC insured up to $5 million. And as it exists right now, the account that has almost $8 million is only FDIC insured up to $250,000.
It's collateralized, I think. They got collateral. That's the reason you don't earn much on it. It's a special deal. Used to you had to move them around, but I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Butch, but I believe it's got collateral that's backing that state.
And
I can only be 100%.
But either way, the $5 million you're talking about
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
insured.
It's
Okay.
insured through FDIC, where they split that out, banks across the country, they're all FDIC insured.
so, and just to throw another, and I'm sorry, I was just rereading the Private Act, and Section 10 in there says that we have anything excessive over expenses, we're supposed to give it back to the entities.
You
So this is a-
mentioned, once again, read the fine print.
Yeah,
For reserve,
so
I've
this
got
is
it.
reserve. That would be the answer.
Well, yes, exactly, because as you have correctly found out, there may be an issue with the landfill in Smith County as far as capacity is concerned. So what does that mean for us? That means logistically, if we have to go either to Middle Point, which also has problems, or Bi-County, which is in Clarksville, guess what happens? Our transportation fees go through the roof. We don't know there may be cost overruns with the construction of the new facility. You always have to.
So we move it out of surplus cash into a reserve cash account and we still invest it, but we identify it as a reserve?
You can call it what you want.
Yeah,
But that's what we're gonna do if it's a reserve.
yeah, I mean, I don't think the
I
bank,
mean, I'm just trying
It's
to
still
call it.
reserved, yeah.
And also, to your point, it doesn't say it goes back to the counties unless there is an agreement between the
With this
board,
board.
the board and the entities, not just the county.
I'm
Remember,
familiar with it.
well,
City and,
I was just
city.
asking if we could mark it as reserve.
well, it does, I don't think it matters whether you mark it as reserve or not. It is what it is. But doing a fiduciary duty actually, I think, requires us to put that and invest those funds if they run interest. By the way, I've got a call from one of the other financial institutions that say they pay 4.75, so we might want to take a look at, highest and best there. It's not a bidding project necessary, but this is a situation where back when this started, there was never surplus cash, or we were always running a deficit. Now it's not that situation, but we're also facing an expansion of at least $14 million. We don't have our own landfill, okay?
Which I'll add to it,
Yeah.
that budget's a couple years old.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
yeah.
And
And so the bond issue, what the bond issue is, unless, so we have to have money in reserve for these increased costs. And for contingencies if the landfill in Smith County happens to close.
If you have to open up the railroad track.
Exactly.
well, and there's all kinds of, as we've talked about for several months, there's all kinds of uncertainties in the Middle Tennessee market, if you want to call it that, in solid waste right now. I mean, we don't know what we might, or, get into down the road. It might be way more entailed and expensive than going to a landfill, who knows where. It could be putting
So,
in some kind of.
I don't want to get into a discussion, I just want to say the reserve needs to be short-term, and it needs to be in a reserve in case we got 6 months, we don't know what's happening. And that's all I'm asking.
Well,
We
this
should
is
treat it like
this
a
account
reserve.
is a money market account. You can draw it out at any
Yeah,
time you
simple,
want.
that, yeah, we do like several withdrawals a
Yes.
month, so there wouldn't be an issue there. You're not gonna tie the money up.
That's all I was asking.
Yeah, and I'm happy to look at the
Right.
second bank and
Right.
do the same write-up I did.
First National.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna look at that and look to see who's got the best rate, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any other discussion on that? New business, discuss the changing the meeting location date for the board meetings. Anybody have a discussion on that?
I recommend that we, for I don't know how many years, we met at the Resource Authority, and we met on the fourth Monday. I recommend we go back to that. People want to come, they can. We need to see what's going on. We have a meeting and we don't have any idea what's going on out there. Has anybody visited the Resource Authority in the last month?
I've been to,
I was there today.
Open to visitors anytime?
Yeah.
So, anyway,
And
I put that in form of a motion.
is there a second?
I'll second that. And then I'll just, there's a point I want to make with discussion.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, being a new member, I would like to be able to, when we have the meetings, if we need it, especially when we get into these projects where we go out and take a look at at what's going on and how the progress and what's going on with that. I feel that that's the justification in my mind to have those meetings at that location.
So are you saying that to have the meeting, because if we have things going on when we're at the meeting, we're gonna go out and tour what's going on? Or are you saying they're gonna go ahead of time? Because you can go anytime. I think this is gonna really curb transparency with the people are interested now. We have a lot of our county, our cities, our Hendersonville, Gallatin, all of them are super interested in what's going on with the Resource Authority because of the fact that we all put a garbage can at the end of our driveway, and they're worried about trash. We have trash on the sides of the roads and things like that. So I think it's gonna really be disingenuous to move it out there. I don't mind going out there. I live in Gallatin, but I think it's better here and if we need to look at something at the location because something's coming up, then we can ride out there and look at it. They're very open. Larry, all these people out there have been so open about showing things to us. So I think that's I'm not voting for that.
And I think too, I've been on here a long time too, and I know Larry's been on some years, but I think we met out there up until probably, how many years ago? We decided to move here.
Maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah, and, yeah.
I don't remember. Maybe
And
2
I
or 3.
think a lot of that, Larry was talking to us one time about convenience for like
That's exactly what it was.
Hendersonville and, myself coming from Gallatin, instead of having to go across town, all that, but, I can see where y'all are coming from because I think when you are starting the new construction, it would be nice to be there to look at it because, you might not have time to go there during the week or something like that, but if you're there that day, you can go out there and look at it.
Well, and one thing, I'm sorry,
And
Chris.
also, anybody can come to the meetings, you still can come.
If we do, if the board, this body decides to move it to the Resource Authority, then I think it's all the more imperative that what I discussed earlier is getting some information together where we can get that out into the community.
And two, another thing is that I think when he said the 4th Monday,
Yes.
right? Y'all don't have a meeting on the 4th Monday, correct?
No, well,
It
we have a
depends.
new,
If, a lot of this next month in September, Labor Day falls on the first Monday, so that's gonna push us to the one. And it's gonna be,
But that's a rare occasion.
no,
right?
it's not. It's not a rare occasion. 4th of July, Labor Day, Columbus Day, what else? There's 4 or 5 months out of the year that it pushes back, and that's gonna be impossible. I mean, it's 6:15 now, and we're still meeting, and we still have another item to discuss. There's no way we can be here by 7 o'clock, and we cannot miss a commission.
But how did they do it for 20-something years or 30 years?
Exactly.
Well, you bring up another problem we're about to run into, is this room has a reservation for it at 6:30.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of us serve on that committee,
Mhm.
but we're under a deadline right now,
Yeah.
because we're in this room.
so I don't wanna have a big discussion, but the new open meeting rules say that you have to have accommodations for the public. If you could get back to us on that.
Well,
I went to a class, the lawyers told me.
well,
If you could
your,
just get back to us.
your county director tells you a lot of things.
No,
that I
that was
listen-
CTAS, but I know you like InTAS. Can you check it?
And we don't need any comment from the public back there.
No,
please.
you actually do, I think you do, because you all are out of line.
No, I think you're out of line, ma'am.
So
I
really,
think you're very much out of line. Okay.
really the transparency is,
I know you don't care.
I think, so I've been out to the meetings, and when we were at the meetings, I watched, it was nice, because during the day I could watch the people haul their trash across the thing and see all the trash in the trucks. The problem is that I have been there are, like I said, there is not enough room for the public that wants to come. And so are we gonna, how are we gonna be, we're supposed to serve the citizens, not the citizens. You know what I'm saying? I think that moving it out there, I don't see any problem with maybe once in a while having a meeting out there if there's something really pressing going on. But to move it out there permanently, that's just disingenuous to, I think, to the public who want to come. We don't have the room out there.
Rick, you haven't been there, there's room for 3 citizens in
I've,
that ward.
I've met with Larry when I
Yes,
first
you
came
know.
on board, yeah, I know it's a small room.
And we still, Larry, there's still not that other, the other big boardroom we've been in.
No,
That's gone.
well, it's when we moved all of our stuff out of the waste energy plant, when we were demoing it, we put a lot of that stuff up there. And we've got some other issues up there that makes that not a very good, suitable place to meet anyway.
Yeah. What, now, let me ask you this, county commissioner, do y'all meet every Monday?
We meet, I personally meet on, we have our EMS meeting on the first,
There's committee meetings the first
Depends
two
on-
Mondays, or whatever, however it falls, if there's no holiday. The first, whatever the first Monday is, if there's not a holiday, for the first 2 weeks, and then the third week is commission meeting.
Well, it's
And then
second,
sometimes it's the fourth,
second Monday?
third,
No, I'm talking, is there anything on the second Monday?
yes, committee meetings.
See, y'all meet every Monday, basically.
Excuse me.
Kinda like us. All right, we've got a motion and a second on the floor. Any other discussion? Anything else? And the motion was to move it and do it on the fourth Monday,
Fourth Monday.
correct? And when will we start this?
Next month.
Do we have enough time, or do we have to advertise that
We'll
to
have
change it?
plenty of time.
Okay. All right. All those in favor? Aye. Anybody
No.
opposed?
No.
It's not transparent, and it's against the open meeting
There's a
law.
vote, there's not time for discussion at this point. It's not against the open meetings law.
I will get you a letter from the
Okay,
comptroller's office.
if you want, again, if, that's what courts of law are for, ma'am.
I know,
All right?
and the citizens hear you too.
Okay. All right, motion carries 4-3. All right. Discuss the landfill status report that was shared by email. Larry, you want that?
Yeah, I know Terry shared this by email, end of the week, last week, about some information she'd gotten from TDEC, somebody at TDEC we
Yeah.
talked to. I had this available, I got this letter from Mayor Mason up there on Friday afternoon. I was out of town Friday, or I would have emailed that out ahead of time. But I met with, we talked about, I think it's been a few months back now, talking to them about the life expectancy and getting a letter from them. Never had gotten one, so I'd called Mayor Mason up there. It's been 3 weeks or so ago. And he and I and the landfill superintendent up there met on the 8th of August. I went up and met with them at the landfill and talked about, questions everybody's got right now about, their capacity and commitment to, taking care of our trash by the contract we've got. And he promised me then, I asked him about that letter again, he promised me to get it out, so he finally did, but this kind of answers, or maybe gives a little more light on some of those issues that the person from TDEC had shared with you on that particular landfill up there. They do have some issues that they're trying to address. The letter's in here, you can read it for yourself, but they're in the process of getting a small expansion and trying to get another larger expansion. permitted as well. Well, two more actually. One that'll be a fairly large one. But they felt confident at that time, and I think he kind of goes, reiterates that in this letter, that they'll be able to take care of us for the length of the contract that we've got with them currently. Now, the current contract's a 10-year contract. We started it in August of 2020. So we're 3 years into it right now. And the way that contract's put together, there's a end of 5-year look back, and negotiate or talk about, you know, the rate at that point. And in talking to him the other day when I had that meeting with him, he didn't mention it in this letter, but they feel pretty confident that at the end of that 5 years, there's probably going to be a rate increase. What that might be, they don't know, and he didn't say what it would be, but they felt pretty sure that there'd be some sort of rate increase. We're currently paying them $27 a ton to dispose up there right now, which is a really good rate.
Now, you said 20, was it 21 or 20?
The year that we signed it.
20. Did I say 21?
Well, no, the letter says 21, so.
Well, it was in 2020.
Okay.
Because our contract with Waste Management ran out in August of 2020, and we rebid that.
Okay.
We negotiated that contract with Smith County directly and rebid the loading and the hauling.
So it'll come up in 25.
Yeah, 25.
Okay.
So we got 2 more years. You know, before we get to that point of having that discussion as far as by contract discussing a potential rate increase. But according to what they told me in this letter as well, they feel confident they're going to be able to take care of us for the length of that contract. Now, anything could happen, I know that. You know, they're dealing with a regulatory entity just like a lot of other people are, as far as, you know, expansion permits and have to get approvals and all the rest of the stuff. So, you know, there could be issues involved in that, but that's kind of where we're at right now, as I know it.
Does that contract have an option for us to extend it, or do we have to go back up for bids after 10 years?
I don't know if, I think there's a possibility extended 1 term, I believe. I'd have to look at it again and see, but I think it's, but we can also, there's also provision in there to cancel it at any time too with enough notice. I think it's 6 months notice or something like that.
When is the next task force meeting for Middle Tennessee?
I don't know if there's gonna be another one, just to be honest with you. I reached out to Michael Skipper with GNRC last month because I hadn't heard anything about it from anybody. And he sent me an email back, said, yeah, he said, I owe you and the other members of that task force committee, whatever you want to call it, an update. He said they were working on some exciting things, but that was a month ago, so I still haven't heard anything. So I don't know whether that's kind of went by the wayside or what. I'm not sure.
It hasn't. So he talked about that committee a couple weeks ago. It still exists, but I'm like you, I'm sort of disappointed they haven't met again.
Yeah. We were at least, I thought we were gonna meet at least every other month, but it's been at least probably 3 months since we've had a meeting, since they've convened that strike force, task force. And they had several high-level people on there. There were some county mayors, TDEC commissioner was at those meetings we had. So I don't know what happened. I haven't got an explanation other than we haven't met and don't know if we're going to or not, so.
Well, I think the whole council wants y'all to keep meeting. I don't think Michael Skipper has a choice. Y'all are gonna keep meeting.
Yeah. I'm available till I'm not.
Anybody got anything else
I
on
have
that?
one quick question.
Yes.
For the attorney. So you're saying, when you give your opinion, you're inviting members of this board and the community to see you in the court of law if they don't agree? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
Because that's what it sounded like to me.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm assuming that was under other business, correct?
Wherever you wanna put it.
Nothing to do with the landfill, it's just that it's other business. All right, does anybody have anything else, other business? If not, do I hear a motion? Have a motion by Mrs. Young,
Second.
second. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who's the head sheriff?
We are adjourned.
My name's Chrissy Miller.